All right, I'd like to take a minute to talk about the game. The game is played by many people that you probably know, and maybe you didn't even realize they were playing this game. Let me describe the game for you. Let's the game starts, at least one aspect of this game starts with a person. This person will be in some kind of difficult situation. We know that they're in a difficult situation because they usually are going through as we say, a hard time, right? They're going through a hard time. This hard time could be any variety of hard times. I do not disparage this person that is going through this hard time. It might be something like a sickness. It could be a wayward child. It could be, I mean, you name it. Any type of hard time, whatever the difficult situation is. Okay? Now, in this game, you can be going through a difficult situation, and one of the things you can do is you can tell others about your situation. And so you may tell this person about your situation, right? Now, their response can be back, I'm praying for you. Or I've been thinking about you, concerned about you. Oh, man, that's difficult going through that hard time. That's something that's allowed. We're allowed to do prayers, thoughts, and prayers, praying for you, worried about you. I'm here for you. Just want to encourage you. Thank you for telling me. And that's the extent of it. Now, occasionally, when somebody's going through a difficult time, there's at least the potential that sometimes, not all the time, by any means, by any stretch of those means, but sometimes the difficult time can either be self-induced or maybe a result of bad choices along the way, or maybe even there's a part of this difficult time that can be gotten out of. Right? That happens. That does happen. Sometimes people get into a difficult situation, and it's because of the things that they've been doing. That does happen sometimes. And let's be honest, sometimes those things that we do that are wrong can get us into a difficult situation. Not always, but sometimes. And so wise people, when they hear about this difficult situation, sometimes someone will hear the difficult situation and wonder why. Why are they going through that? I've got some questions. And so they may have some questions here, right? And so let's put some little thought bubble. They may have some questions that just out of a concern for this person, out of a reality of what they're going through, questions might need to be asked. But if you're in the game and you're playing the game, this is something you cannot do. Now, what you can do in the game is you can then tell this person, I've got some questions. You can tell this person over here, I've got some questions. You can tell this person down here, I've just got some questions. And then all these questions can be asked, and this conversation can go, and it can all happen, and they can repeat it back to them, and then they can even repeat it over to this person over here, and there can be all kinds of conversation about this, all in the name of concern. But what you cannot do in the game, if somebody's going through a difficult situation, is, and let's draw our knucklehead down here. This knucklehead doesn't realize they're in the game. And so they will say, when hearing about this difficult situation, if it's one that they have concerns about, instead of going to these people, they go back to this person and I've got some questions. Hey, what about, it seems like I'm concerned that this is the worst thing you can do in the game. If you're playing the game, to do this back to this person, if you express anything back to this person other than I'm praying for you and I'm concerned for you and I just care about you, if you express anything back that is in any way, shape, or form a questioning of why or how they're in this situation, that might lead to them to believe there might be some responsibility on their part, or maybe there's a responsibility on what they should be doing at this point. If you do that, you are the worst violator in the history of violators. Now, what's interesting about this is that you can, of course, go to these other people and talk about the exact same things and question these things, but you can't go back to this person about it as long as you're playing the game, right? Now, this person then, if they are approached by one of these violators that don't understand the game, now something that they can do because this person has violated the rules, they can, according to the rules already established, they can, because this adds to their difficult time, they can then go to this person and this person over here and tell them about what this person has done to them, because it adds to their difficult time, and they in return can go, oh my goodness, I'm praying for you. Now, because this person is a violator and they have broken the rules, it opens up an exception to this rule. The one time that you are allowed to go back and confront somebody else about what's going on is in this situation where somebody has done this because they're the violator. All of these other people can now shun this one. And they look at this person and they can say whatever they want. Why did you do this? You're a terrible person. You're just making it all about you. When they weren't. They were just concerned that there might be something that this person ought to be doing in spite of this. And instead of gossiping with everybody about it, they just went right back to the person to ask those questions. I understand that this process can be a challenge and it can be difficult. Sometimes questions are hard, right? Hard questions. But hard questions sometimes need to be asked. Now, if you find yourself in this situation and you hear about somebody going through a difficult time and they've told you about it, and you have some questions that are hard questions, one of the things you might need to ask yourself first is this person in the game? If they're in the game, your questions may land on deaf ears. They may end up being spread around, and you may in turn be challenged as a violator, as a rule breaker to the game. Now, of course, none of these people that are in this game know that they're in a game. And obviously, as I'm writing, or as I'm not writing this, but as I'm saying this and drawing it, I know that there's a hint of sarcasm in all that I'm saying. I know that. But it's a real situation that I see happening around me all the time. It happens in the world a lot. But what alarms me is when I find out that all these things are happening within the scope of the Christian community within the church. This ought not to be this way. One of the problems is that we have people that are in different church congregations, different church families, even in one regional area. But the reality is as well that hard questions, if you really care, if you really have a heart, hard questions are things that ought to be asked. And if you are really interested in knowing what God wants you to do, you ought to be ready and willing to answer those questions. Adam and Eve were going through a hard time, and God asked questions. Where are you? What happened? What did you do? Let's not be the sort of people that gossip. But when we know someone is going through a difficult time, with the most grace and compassion, but also with truth, if hard questions need to be asked, be ready and willing to do that. If you recognize that people are not going to be interested in this, can you try? Sure. But understand that some of the pearls, some of those valuable, hard questions, the pearls, will be cast before swine, not to insult the ones going through the challenging time, but there's just a reality. Swine do not appreciate pearls, and some people going through difficult situations do not appreciate hard questions.